Boom, and happy Sunday to each and every one of you that is up early or just joining in for a good afternoon with yours truly, Bobby Munson, and that man right beside me, Chris Parrish. We are the Brunch Busters. It's busting out, and it's a total perfect 10 on this episode. Chris Parrish, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing a little bit about right. I'm on what the kids say a winning streak now, and it feels a little weird.
Going straight to the top. All right.
Actually, yeah.
Or does that hold on here? I think that deserves something a little bit better than just a yes situation. I'm talking about one of these right here. Ole is what we get. How about another? No, we're kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not going to keep playing that. On. I took it off this time. I totally took it off this time. I'm getting better at this stuff. But we got a very active chat going on even before we start the day off, and that's what we love to see. Get in on the chat here on a Sunday. It is fantastic. Prairie Pro Wrestling, as always. Happy Sunday, guys. Have a kick-ass show today. We will definitely be having a kick-ass show. Of course, we're being seen over multiple platforms, whether you're joining us on our local establishment on Chris Parrish's personal Twitch, or you're joining us via YouTube on the Video Bros Network. Thank you for taking the time on a Sunday. And of course, from me, good morning, everybody. And Ed, Ole brothers, Ole, Ed, glad to see you as always, showing the love and support each and every Sunday. Glad you're able to join us. And everybody else, thank you for tuning in, and make sure to join in on the chat. Let us know what you'd like for us to derail on this Sunday. But yes, speaking of Sunday, I don't know, where do we want to begin with this one, Parrish? I know you were talking about some interesting stuff revolving around LA Knight. Maybe we could go down that path.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think on SmackDown we saw the first physical interaction with Bray Wyatt and somebody else. And we actually saw that somebody else be LA Knight. Yeah. Sorry, I had to do it once. It's very catchy.
It really is. And he's managed to carry that across a couple of different names, too. I mean, we used to have Eli Drake prior to that. So, I mean.
Max Dupree. Just that. But yeah, no, LA Knight was being interviewed, and obviously in front of that screen back there, some stuff goes on. Bray Wyatt's video, that little upside down butterfly logo kind of goes on. It distracts the interviewer, where then LA Knight, which I loved, then got on the interviewer for being a little distracted and be like, no, I'm right here. What are you looking at? And he looks nothing. He looks a second time. He sees the video again, and then he starts cutting a promo kind of on the production guys and like, yeah, whatever that guy has to say, he can say it to my face. And they like zoomed in on him as he's doing that. And as they zoom out and he turns around, Bray Wyatt is right there. No more interviewer. And then Bray Wyatt then talks to him about, I can see that rage inside you. You just need, somebody there to help you let it out. He's like, I used to be embarrassed by the things I've done and all the horrible things I do. And now I just like it. And then LA Knight kind of just does not care for it. And then he's like telling him, well, you can just take this and you go back and play with all your puppets, and you can put them up in anywhere that pleasures you, because this is my time, LA Knight's time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden just as soon as he sticks his head out, just to be that little bit of a dick, boom, big headbutt, out goes, not out goes LA Knight, but down goes LA Knight. And that was the first time we saw Bray Wyatt get physically involved since coming back with WWE.
And yes, finally, about time is the least I could say about that. I'm intrigued by his promos, but at the same time, I felt like we were getting one after another to the point where we need some direction. Where are we going with this? What are we going to see out of this? Yeah. And finally, we got that on Friday night, and it was great. Again, LA Knight is the kind of guy that's going to be able to go in there. He's a strong worker. I'm sure Bray is very aware of how strong his work can be. You mentioned about him he's a marvel on the microphone himself. So this becomes a very intriguing situation of two mic masters going at it, and then bringing the altercation into the mix as well too. Bray not doing a whole lot of talking at the end of this one. He could have kept chattering with LA Knight, chose not to. Went the direction of a good old-fashioned headbutt to take him down. Now we have some violence involved in this, and now it starts to get interesting. And I'm very, very curious to see this match pan out when it does, whether they're going to save this for a SmackDown coming up or whether they're actually going to have this as a pay-per-view level matchup at the next premium live event of sorts. I'm curious to see, where do you think this lands? Is this a SmackDown Friday night matchup, or do you save Bray's in-ring return for an actual premium live event?
I mean, I think it depends. I think you save the LA Knight Bray Wyatt match for Survivor Series because you're going to need a couple matches for Survivor Series. But then again, I have no idea if Survivor Series is going to be more of the traditional, 4-on-4, 5-on-5 matches, right? We just know two things. We know War Games and we know more participants about that, and we'll get to that later. But I don't see why you want to just give a Bray Wyatt in-ring return away for free. I understand if you have maybe something specific to compete against and you're like, this is going to be our driving force to kind of like put us up. I get that. But if you don't have anything specific to target in terms of competing for ratings on Fridays, then I don't see an issue why you can't wait till Survivor Series and help get those buy rates up, just like he did with Extreme Rules, where if people aren't realizing, his appearance actually increased viewership by 30% from any other years of Extreme Rules.
And speaking of
the previous year of Extreme Rules.
Yeah, and speaking of viewership increases, did you hear about the increase that happened from Friday night? Friday Night SmackDown racking in over 2 million on the viewership from Friday night. This is a huge jump from where they were, especially this time 1 year ago. This is a massive leap. And a lot of that can be attributed to, obviously, the bloodline, of course, but also to Bray Wyatt's return and how it's been handled thus far.
Yeah, and I'm just going to point this out. Friday Night SmackDown was absolutely amazing in just terms of a wrestling quality. I mean, you got the Usos and the New Day right away, doing like a 35-minute segment, and it was just another banger of a match. And you definitely could tell that there was a finale with that match. There's definitely some, okay, we're not going to see this again for a while. And I'm okay with that because that was a feud that's been beaten pretty heavily over the years. And then you got like guys like Santos Escobar going up against Shinsuke Nakamura, which was absolutely just a delight to see. Mix that in with Roman Reigns wanting to like be out there live, and you saw someone with the bloodline. You saw the Brawling Brutes come back. You saw Sheamus come back. You saw Drew McIntyre aligning himself with these Brawling Brutes and saw a potential setup for the men's War Games match at Survivor Series. And then on top of that, you also saw Shotzi Blackheart become the #1 contender for the women's SmackDown Championship. And then, you also have LA Knight being revealed as the first person to potentially go up against Bray Wyatt. And that's just a lot to give in a 2-hour show. And there you have it. That's a show you don't want to miss because there's a lot of things there. And then still haven't even talked about, we had Braun Strowman in action against Jinder Mahal, who returned to SmackDown as well. Yeah.
And you also didn't mention a record was broken as of Friday Night SmackDown as well, too. You mentioned the tag team matchup, but the record for the...
Share.
What? Is this like...
I had to share. I couldn't say everything.
Okay. Well, I mean... This is huge news. I mean, to break this type of record, it is massive. In fact, it kind of makes me think of something when that happens. Before we even talk about it, I'm thinking it deserves one of these. Oh. Look at that. I found an excuse to use it this week. Look at that. Breaking news. The Usos are now officially the longest reigning tag team champions in the history of WWE. So congratulations, Jimmy and Jay, for a phenomenal run as the tag team champions. And like you said, a banger of a match from Friday night as well too. Like just this was one of the strongest SmackDown Friday night shows they've done since the show went to a Friday night format.
Yeah. It just shows you a lot about kind of the direction of SmackDown and just the direction of Triple H in general. Because again, we also saw teases with Ricochet and Gunther again, and just to showcase the World Cup that's going on the SmackDown side. And also, I think a lot of people are wondering because a match next week, we're going to see Ricochet going up against Mustafa Ali. And people might wonder, well, isn't this the SmackDown World Cup? Why is Mustafa Ali a part of this? I think a lot of this could be derailed and designed to have Mustafa Ali potentially go up against Braun Strowman in the semifinals after the comments Braun Strowman made about his flippity floppers after Crown Jewel. There's a lot of rumors going out there that there's heat on Braun Strowman. You couldn't see that based on SmackDown because, in my opinion, if he was to have massive heat on, Jinder Mahal would have advanced. But also, you couldn't really argue that Braun Strowman is super over in WWE right now. But, I mean, if Mustafa Ali and Braun Strowman was to have a match and they went to take this, quote-unquote heat that Braun Strowman has and able to use that to kind of have a little narrative for a feud, I like it because it just makes this World Cup tournament a little bit more interesting as we go along. And that's kind of what I missed about, what we might see coming back in the Triple H era, but the King of the Ring tournament.
Oh, God. Now that's a tease of all teas right there. I mean, I know as a diehard fan, and I know many diehard fans out there would love to see the return of the King of the Ring. But again, even if that were to happen, I would rather see it happen in the format where we get the full-on tournament like we used to when it first started out. I don't want the whole, this is a qualifier, this is a quarterfinal, this is the semifinal, and you get the final match at the next premium live event. No, none of that shit. We want full King of the Ring. You could also do a Queen of the Ring, and don't call it Queen's Crown Tournament or anything stupid like that. It is the Queen of the Ring. That's what it needs to be called. It needs to be a 2-day weekend.
Right now, you can't call it Queen of the Ring because that term is licensed and trademarked by an independent female wrestler in the United States. So they'd have to purchase that term before they're legally obligated to use it. That's why the Queen's Crown is the name. But I agree with you. I would prefer a Queen of the Ring. However, that is why. But from all indications of what I was reading, it seems like King of the Ring will not only come back as we knew it and loved it for it to be, but it would replace one of those gimmick pay-per-views or PLEs as people are calling them. And they're just bringing it back as that one night actual show. So, I mean, I if that's to happen, I'd be very, very excited.
Yeah, and I'm very excited. I mean, you mentioned it just there. The getting rid of some of the gimmicked up premium live events is the best news I have heard in a long time, because I think that we get to that point where these are force-fed matches, and that's why people weren't as interested in them, why you've lost interest over the years, because if you're given too much of a good thing, it eventually doesn't have the same effect as it once did. And I know Triple H mentioned about the Hell in a Cell being subjected to that kind of thing. The Hell in a Cell match itself has lost all meaning and credibility because of the fact that it's been forced to have 2 to 3 matchups gimmicked that way at every single time they run that premium live event. So moving forward, if you take away that premium live event, you can get back to the idea that the Hell in a Cell is a gimmick utilized when you can no longer contain the feud of 2 individuals that have gone to war for a long time. And I say individuals because this doesn't have to just be a men's gimmick match. It can be a women's gimmick match, but it needs to be used in the way that it pays off properly. Have the feud get to a boiling point where the Hell in a Cell is necessary, and then you will be able to use it, and you can use it wherever you want to. You don't have to have a premium live event built around the gimmick match. You then use that gimmick match on the pay-per-view that's appropriate to have that at.
Well, I think what we're seeing now is maybe just War Games being replaced on that main roster and being one of those pay-per-views where War Games is going to maybe take over. Yeah, pun intended. But
take over. Yeah.
Be one of those gimmick shows where it's like, okay, yeah, this is really good. Like, maybe that's what we're getting instead of like Hell in a Cell, Money in the Bank, or Elimination Chamber, so to speak. And we get to see these other matches be kind of more of okay, this is the reason why we're doing it, because we have no alternative. Like, I understand the point of Hell in a Cell was to like, okay, if we had a cage match, people like we weren't seeing everything in a cage. People were still climbing over. People were still trying to get in. But with the Hell in a Cell, you're keeping the two locked in without anybody trying to get in and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I like that dynamic. I do think that they have to start telling that story a little bit better, and the execution of those stories need to be a little bit better for these matches to have that magnitude of what they used to be. But I also do believe that we're seeing just a transition on what's going to be out there, whereas we might now see War Games as kind of that match that kind of overtakes a PLE, while we're seeing other matches be kind of treated like the way the matches were intended to be.
Yeah, and exactly that. Then that's the most exciting part for me as a wrestling fan, because I mean, I think I said it before too when we were reviewing Crown Jewel, and we had a cage match between Drew and Karrion Kross. And again, these two haven't really had a feud that didn't have a gimmick behind it yet. And that's the problem. And again, we've had the same problem with Bayley and Bianca Belair so far too, where everything has been built around gimmick matches thus far in the feud. How do you really follow up gimmick after big gimmick? You almost can't go back to a regular wrestling match. I mean, they're probably going to, but it almost seems like the gimmicks should have come along the path of the feud, not been put at the start of it to build up to what will inevitably be a wrestling match involved there.
See, like what I at least like in this feud is that there's still a reason why Bayley can go after the title, and that's simply because everything they've done is a gimmick match. So by a traditional wrestling way, Bianca still hasn't beat Bayley. I get that. I find it to be a stretch, because I just look at it like, well, if we have a one-on-one competition and they say, here are the rules, and I win, it's not like, I just think it's a little bit cheap to say that I didn't beat you when I did, but I can understand it. I just personally would have rather watched Bianca in a chase instead of constantly going over. And then now we're at a point where we're going to see Team Bianca go up against Team Damage Control in War Games, where Bianca said this is going to end here. But how is it going to end? Like, that's what I just don't understand. Like, okay, if Team Bianca wins, then does everyone on that team no longer are able to challenge for the women's tag titles? Or if, Team Damage Control win, does somebody get an opportunity again for the Raw Women's title? Like, to me, if everything ends, I'd like to see both teams put their respectful titles up on the line. And we just have that something, right?
Well, because you're assuming when they say ends, it means an end to the feud in general. Like none of these women are going to cross paths again for now, at least for a long time. And without the belts on the line, really, what does it become about? I mean, the only thing you can really write in that narrative is it becomes about Bayley getting some of her heat back after eating 2 losses in previous gimmick matches. But yeah, it's a strange one, and the way it's being designed right there, I don't think they have the depth to start saying it's not going to happen again or anything like that right now. I think that this is one of your best narratives going in WWE at the moment, and I think that they would be silly to write this off without any title inclusion or anything like that and say it's one and done at War Games. I think that would be a big mistake on the company's part right now, because I don't know that anything else, unless they've got an ace up their sleeve. That's the only thing. Like maybe Triple H is sitting on something we're not expecting, and all of a sudden an unveil at War Games is going to throw a complete curveball our way.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm thinking, because you do have 3 other members of the 4 Horsewomen not currently on the roster, which is absolutely mind-blowing to think right now. When was the last time we ever had 3 of the Horsewomen not on the roster? On top of that, Naomi is still not around, but you're going to see her again. Yeah. So it just begs the question, what will happen? Are we going to see a new challenge? I'm also going to throw this one out. We have still no idea if we're going to see anybody returning, because I don't think it's a foregone conclusion to throw that away, because somehow we just keep seeing it.
We do.
There is a couple out there. One was a pretty good face of a company, no longer going to work for that company after his contract expires. He is married to, I believe, the greatest women's wrestler of our time. I wouldn't be shocked if we could see a WWE return for Mickie James at some point. Because I do believe a Hall of Fame nod is in her future.
It's got to be, absolutely got to be. And again, it would be great because Mickey's not too old to come back in some capacity anyway. Like, she could still work in the ring, even though she doesn't have to. She could come back. She's a great microphone worker. She's a great liaison to all the women there, kind of thing. She would be perfect person to have as that backstage person that understands the company, understands the division, that go-between between management and the women's division. Mickie James would be an excellent fit. And I know you mentioned about, obviously Nick Aldis. Now his potential for coming into the WWE really mixes things up. How will Triple H choose to present Nick Aldis? How is he going to bring him out here? Are they going to announce this guy as one of the longest running NWA World Heavyweight Champions of the last couple of decades? Even like there's so much that can be said here. Because Nick Aldis, to the average WWE fan, if we're talking about the casual fans that might be tuning in, probably have zero idea who Nick Aldis is. But his presentation, the way he conducts himself, could be an excellent fit, especially on the heel side of the WWE.
Now, this is all an if, and that's just an if they are WWE bound. There's no indication that either one of them are WWE bound, but I just think it's, you have to look at it if it presents itself to you, right? It's a big move. I, for one, completely understand if they were to both end up in Impact Wrestling, given their history.
Yeah.
Mickie James and Nick Aldis both have a huge history with Impact Wrestling, and it would make a lot of sense for Nick Aldis to go to Impact Wrestling just as much as WWE. I don't think I believe the line that no one, or maybe not no one, but that nobody will know who Nick Aldis is in WWE, simply because I know that the WWE fan base, I know a lot of just WWE only fans might not be aware of Nick Aldis, but there is a plethora of different amount of pro wrestling sports entertainment fans in the WWE universe, because you could say the same thing about if they knew who AJ Styles was, if they know, obviously they knew Cody simply because of his previous time in WWE, but you go back and you look at all the indie wrestlers that came through NXT, and the NXT audience knew who they were. Those are just WWE fans as well, right? Like, so I do believe Nick Aldis would be responded well. My thing is, this is a test to see how big of a name he actually is.
Yeah. And mentioning about like,
I don't know, but I do believe like nowadays we're seeing WWE promote people's pasts a lot more now. Yeah. We're hearing about the Bullet Club on a broadcast. We're hearing about the Never Championship that Carl Anderson still technically has. We've seen Mickie James come down for the Royal Rumble with the Knockouts Championship. And that was through the Vince McMahon era.
Yeah.
So who's to say that if Nick Aldis was to come to WWE, there wouldn't be heavy attempts on WWE's point to showcase Nick Aldis in the most positive of ways.
And that's where the excitement comes in for me, because again, if Nick Aldis would have signed previously, maybe not as much hope on that side of things. You mentioned about AJ. I mean, he's a rare case of everybody knowing who he was, but he's also the case of putting it out at somewhere like the Royal Rumble, where everybody packed into that stadium is not a casual fan. They're a diehard fan. They know enough to react to these surprise entrants. So that really helps the audience to get into them. If you presented Nick Aldis in something like that, where you're going to have a dedicated fan base that's going to get a reaction, that's a perfect way to do it. But like you said, we're in an era now where they can debut this guy and have it make an impact by selling on his accolades. And we know, despite what people are thinking of Billy Corgan these days, he has mentioned about the possibility of working closely with the WWE now that Triple H is in charge of the talent over there. And it is very possible that some of the footage of Nick Aldis's run as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion could be shown. They could talk about what he's done in the past, his time with Impact Wrestling, his time in the NWA, all the things that have led to Nick Aldis being the potential star that he is. It's also going to then be up to the WWE and what direction you want Nick Aldis to go. And again, this is hypothetically speaking. We're not talking like the guy actually has signed a contract here. Like you said, Nick Aldis could be just as happy to go spend time with Mickey in Impact Wrestling before calling it a day completely.
Yeah, and let's be quite honest, though. Like, I want to talk about why maybe Nick Aldis makes a lot more sense in Impact Wrestling than maybe WWE. I do believe that his career is completely established if he's to go to WWE and has at least one mildly successful run.
Yeah,
I do think that, because I do believe WWE is a completely different beast and a different achievement in the sport of pro wrestling than any other place. And the only reason why I'm saying no to, like, I'm not mentioning AEW, I truly do not see where he even fits in any shape or form in AEW.
No.
But with Impact, it makes a lot of sense, because now you got another challenger for Josh Alexander. You got another challenger for Moose. You got another challenger for maybe Brian Myers or Joe Hendry, if that comes down to it. And you also have somebody that is now a legitimate star, a former heavyweight champion, who could beef up that division and add a lot of serious depth and star power right away. And that is something that doesn't always come across Impact Wrestling nowadays. So there's that. On top of that, you have Mickie James, I think, doing that one last rodeo or run, what she's doing. So there's that. And I believe she's now more focused on her Impact bookings than the NWA ones. So to me, it's very interesting that maybe this could be a power couple down the road for Impact Wrestling. And we might even see a power couple go up against a power couple, because as much as Nick Aldis makes sense too, I could see a Jonathan Gresham making a lot of sense in Impact, and that could be a very fresh matchup as well.
Yeah, he does make a lot of sense. And a lot of things make sense with Impact Wrestling right now, because they've got a hell of a show and a great roster going over there. Mm-hmm. I mean, with Nick Aldis, I can make the same arguments that you made for Impact for him to come to an MLW as well too, despite the fact that MLW doesn't have Nikki working over there. But speaking of some of those matches that you can line Nick Aldis up with, you got guys like Hammerstone fought too. You got Richard Holidays of the world over there, Davey Richards, a lot of people that I'm sure would have great matchups with somebody the level of Nick Aldis. And again, Nick Aldis is somebody who I could see them putting an MLW championship around, especially the world championship, and go in that direction. And I mean, you could make an argument for him about a lot of places. And again, like you said, except for AEW, and that's not to crap on AEW, it's just the fit of the Aldis style and where he's at in his career right now, I think just wouldn't fit what AEW's got going on. And also, I just don't feel like it adds anything to AEW or does anything for either party if he goes there. I think that is the one company that I don't think there's any benefit either direction for Nick Aldis over in All Elite.
See, I'll say this, and I don't say that I don't want to fit in AEW, and that's simply because I see a lot of kind of just finalized, like I don't want to say finalized, but I just don't think AEW needs a Nick Aldis right now. They got all their pieces going in a right direction right now. A lot of their main feuds are happening very well. A lot of their titles are being established with other people. Like there's, it's a very uninterrupted company right now with the sense of it seems like everything is kind of clicking with that. And you don't want to wreck that or not wreck that, but you don't want to break the potential of damaging the chain that's going on. If Ring of Honor, however, was to start being a separate entity, then I could see Nick Aldis being a fit for Ring of Honor.
Yes. Yeah.
Given how we saw Nick Aldis as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, I'd have some time watching him going up against a Chris Jericho for a Ring of Honor World Championship if Ring of Honor is to be a separate entity. And I do think that has to be a thing because, again, I just don't know if Nick Aldis on any AEW broadcasting right now makes just sense because you've got so many things and natural, and that is a pun intended, natural
pun intended.
Comment because I just, again, like AEW just has its own thing going right now. And I do find that, I've been critical of something's always missing about their show. I think they're finally like back to where they were. They're just hitting it on all cylinders right now that I don't think you want to damage what they have going on.
Yeah, and again, just bringing more people in might just be another getting lost in the shuffle, not knowing what to do with them. You got to find what to do with what is there right now and establish your name again. Because really, I mean, this is essentially the toughest the competition has been in a long time overall.
Yeah, I will say this. How absolutely cool would it be if your final four for the Royal Rumble this year was, say, Seth Rollins, Gunther, Nick Aldis, and a returning Cody Rhodes?
I like it. I like where you're going with that, especially because I think deep down you're trying to push the idea that somehow Seth and Gunther are going to screw each other over and lead to a match for them one-on-one at WrestleMania.
I'm just saying, like, how fresh would that be?
Of course it would be fresh.
And just
we
like
haven't seen it before.
How it's different. And what you could see is maybe I'll even go there. I think Gunther's going to have a big match at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I believe, and one of the matches that I've heard that could be an option for him at WrestleMania is a man. He's actually with us. You just can't see him.
Really? Interesting.
I've heard the idea about Gunther versus John Cena at WrestleMania could be a match.
Damn. I mean, that could be something.
And how insane would that be?
Oh, I'm pumped for that idea.
But also, like, the amount of possibilities now that WWE can do. And I'm going to say this right out there. I'm very excited to see what a 2-night WrestleMania under Triple H looks like.
Oh, shit.
I'm very curious.
You almost feel
and
like
I'm saying Royal Rumble because one, Nick Aldis' contract, from what I understand, ends in January.
Yeah.
Right around the Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the Alamo Dome. That's a big ass place. That's going to have a lot of people from all over the world. I do believe that if Nick Aldis was to show in the Alamo Dome, people would go nuts.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that we're on the verge of seeing something really cool come this January under Triple H. And like you were kind of mentioning about the 2-day WrestleMania under Triple H. I really feel it's going to be wrestling heavy. I really think that there is going to be some strong wrestling matches. I think Triple H would love nothing more but to have multiple matches come out of that weekend as one that people were saying that was one of the best WrestleMania matches in the history of WrestleMania. If he has one or two of them come out of that entire weekend, mission accomplished, because while you can have a good overall card, it's about having those ones that are going to be everlasting in the minds of fans. The Savage Steamboat matches of the world that nobody's ever going to forget because of the quality of work that went into them.
Yeah.
And speaking of quality of work,
we're 2 months. We're 2 months away from the Royal Rumble. Like, let's be honest with that. We're 2 months away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like 50 some days left in the year. We are less than 80 days out from the Royal Rumble. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, this to me is the craziest time for WWE. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think this Royal Rumble, and also this is the first Royal Rumble under the Triple H banner. Yeah. So I'm also curious to see how his first road to WrestleMania goes. And I do think that's important because what we now know that he's doing is shaking things up. But now I want to see how does he piece it all together for the biggest show of the year. And I think there's a lot to prove on his end. But also, what does he do that makes us jump out of our seat? What does he do that makes us say, damn right, I have not seen this before, and this is going to be really effing cool.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of great things in the build to all of this. It's exciting times. And, we're hypothetically speaking on the side of the men's Royal Rumble and everything, too. We've got a women's Royal Rumble that will be taking part that night as well. Yeah. And so many names could be returning, could be debuting. A lot of things that could go down within the women's Royal Rumble leading into WrestleMania season as well, too. We mentioned earlier about, what direction can they go with the championship after, one more gimmick match with Bayley and Belair there. You talked about the potential of Naomi coming back. I mean, there's always that, lingering idea that Sasha might return as well, too. Obviously, everyone's well aware Charlotte's on the horizon. Again, could be getting saved until the Royal Rumble for all we know for her return to happen. But there could be names out there. Yeah. I mean, we know that it's been mentioned that Chelsea Green is supposedly on her way back to WWE. We could see Triple H insert her into the Royal Rumble matchup. But there's a lot of names out there that maybe could surprise us. I mean, you never know what
let's just talk about the return of fucking Mia Yim on Monday night.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez, how awesome is that?
Yeah,
like
everybody had their speculations about who was going to be that participant, but damn.
Yeah, the women's roster in WWE is slowly becoming just, I think, worldwide the best. Slowly becoming.
Yeah.
I don't think it's there yet, but I do think it's slowly becoming. It's definitely the most name-drawn one. The biggest names, I think, are there. But what's amazing is this could be the biggest name-heavy internal Royal Rumble for the WWE on the women's side.
Yeah.
Like, it makes a lot of sense for the most royal of female competitors, the Queen, Charlotte, to return in a match of the most royal of magnitude.
Yeah, and it's likely that a lot of these returns are going to get held off until the Royal Rumble because, again, why would you want to keep, getting them all out there, not have any of those shocks for the Royal Rumble. There's going to be some stuff that's held back. Charlotte could be one of them. Charlotte's also one that, in case they do need somebody to insert into the storylines sooner than that, could be used prior to the Royal Rumble. But again, with you saying only about 80 days away, it's very possible to see that they will hold off the time until and return her at the Rumble. And again, some of the names that could potentially come out and return. It'd be interesting to see whether or not NXT gets into the mix. We start to see some of the NXT men and women come up for the Royal Rumble match itself to see how they fare on the the bigger stages as well too. It is an exciting time for wrestling fans. It's an exciting time for WWE. You mentioned name heavy Royal Rumble again. Yeah, and who knows? I mean, maybe they do another one-off deal with some of the other companies. Though maybe you'll see a Mickie James make an appearance kind of thing like she did last year. Anything's possible, and that's what excites me about watching all of these shows as of late.
Yeah, so like I'm trying to do the math. I believe it's 76 days.
Okay.
So we're less now than 11 weeks to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. So
because actually, like this is I think the first time the Royal Rumble's on a Saturday. So in 2023. And it's what is just amazing to see is that the amount of possibilities are now endless. They're truly more endless than they've ever been. I mean, we've said how many times previously that WWE sometimes feels like it doesn't have those names anymore. And now it feels like that's all they have. And it's like, this is what I loved about the Attitude Era, is that everyone felt like a name because they were always doing something of importance. And now I think we're finally getting back to that level, whether it's men's or women's. Like on Monday night, we see Mia Yim come back in a big reveal to be the OC's Rhea problem. And that was treated like a big thing.
Yeah.
We saw Shotzi Blackheart become the #1 contender for the Women's SmackDown Championship on Friday. And people gave a shit. We see this, and it's just going to make more people care about these talents. Whereas, the last time we saw them in a different era or a different regime, they weren't treated as like stars. They were looked at as, sometimes maybe just side acts. Now they're looked at main acts. And on top of that, you have your levels of star power there. Like, we haven't even touched on when we're going to see Sasha Banks return. We haven't touched on when we're going to see Naomi return. We haven't touched on when we're going to see Becky Lynch return. On top of that, we expect maybe a couple other people to debut or to rejoin WWE. That's a very exciting time to be a fan of the women of WWE.
And here's an interesting thought, too, because I just saw her wrestle. This was the first time I had actually seen her in any wrestling capacity, but MLW had the pre-taped matchup that Scarlett Bordeaux had when she was over there temporarily between the runs with WWE. And Papa Smokes and I weren't too sure what to think. We were like, we've seen her, we've seen the presentation, everything like that. We understand why she's being utilized, but can she wrestle? And you know what? In the capacity they used her in, she's not terrible. She has definitely got some skill there and a lot that could be worked on. I could imagine that they would potentially start using Scarlett in a wrestling capacity down the road.
Yeah, I wouldn't be very surprised if they do. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a lot. I don't think she has to. But in the case if she wants to, or if they come out, like imagine if you have a Karrion Kross and Scarlett go up against a Bray Wyatt and Alexa, for example. That wouldn't be half bad. And I think we'd all have time for that. And this is also, by the way, I need to point this out. I haven't even mentioned the fact that we just saw the return of Sarah Logan on SmackDown as well. So,
that's true too. Yeah.
Re-debut of the Viking Raiders. But yeah, like what's amazing about I think the women's side of this now is that there's excitement, there's question marks, there's unknowns. And because of those unknowns, it just makes it interesting because it doesn't matter if Scarlett is a great wrestler. The unknown is that we don't know if she's good or if she's bad or things like that. But what we are is invested in her character, and that's going to overshine her wrestling ability because we're emotionally invested in the character. And I say this because didn't everyone love the Bella Twins? Despite their restrictions.
This is true. This is true. But again, it's a different time and a different place altogether, though, too. And like I said, I had no idea. Hold on, not everybody. Yeah, I agreed. But and this is I bring this up because again, anybody I beg you to go back and check out the debut episode of Fusion from this last week, where Scarlett did have that matchup, and again against I forget the young lady's name, Carrera, I know it was the last name, might have been Carla Carrera, something along those lines, and hadn't seen anything from the two of them, and they were one of the more intriguing, interesting parts of the entire show. It got to see a debut in-ring wise for the two of them on the program, and they held themselves very well inside that ring. And it's almost a shame that was probably going to be the only time we might see them as part of the featherweight division in MLW, because it's been one of the stronger MLW featherweight division matchups that has occurred in some time, and had a lot of hope going for that division in general.
Yeah, and I think that what this is showing, and I think we might even see a little bit more of this now with, I'm feeling maybe departures of more women now from the NWA. It's hard to say because we've seen now Mickey kind of go more Impact. We saw Taryn Terrell officially retire, so I don't know if this is really all like in there. But if that's the case, we might see more women want to move away. And I definitely see places like MLW and Impact being the reapers of the benefits here, because, and especially like you would know this better than me, but it doesn't feel like MLW is known for their women's division.
Nope, not at all. And I don't mean that in a negative way. They just have not solidified a lot of names that have been mainstays there right now. Outside of Holodead and Taya Valkyrie, they haven't had a whole lot of luck with returning women to the roster. They've got Brittany Blake now going to be making, I think, her second matchup with the company, and that is directly at the MLW Featherweight Championship. So again, one win for her, and now she's going up for the title. Okay, they're establishing another name. They started to establish Willow Nightingale, and then Willow got so damn good that everybody else took notice. And that is consistently an issue right now in MLW, is just nobody wants to stick around because there are strong opportunities out there, and nothing has been established enough within that division, because it's really only been around for a year so far, and not enough's been done with it just yet.
Yeah, no, but like and I 100% agree, but like the point is now, like they're able to kind of get their feet wet on something new to their product, and that could be a revamped and a more dedicated female division, and that's going to only add to the overall broadcast and the presentation, because now they have another weapon in their arsenal, and that would be a strong women's division, or a women's division just at all. And that's going to bring in new viewers. That's going to bring in more female viewers. That's going to bring in a lot of more male viewers who definitely appreciate and respect female wrestling. And because of that, it's only going to make them a bigger entity in the long haul, because they're now attracting more people from a different source than they already have. And I think that's where I think MLW reaps the benefits, is because, they're not known for this, but what they can do is start establishing a women's division that people want to see. And because of that, they're going to reach new heights.
Yeah, they certainly will. And speaking of bringing in new viewers, having shows that aren't just pro wrestling based helps bring in new viewers across this entire platform that we know is our local establishment. And we've had wonderful shows that have hit this platform that aren't wrestling based. We have wonderful shows that are wrestling based. And we have a wonderful community. And we want you guys to know what we got coming up this week at our local establishment. So stay tuned for a short video letting you know what to expect this week from this here channel. One moment.
To me, like a voice inside my head. It's like a fight that I cannot win. Frustrated, intoxicated. I know I'm losing myself. I can't take it anymore. But I'm not done. I'm not done. I won't give up until the end. But I won't fall. I'll stand away.
And yes, that's what we got coming up in OLE this week. And as Asher said, Marvel Talk. So yeah, just to explain, coming up this afternoon, this is going to be a few of the members of our local establishment that are going to be hopping on here with you. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's Ed, Andre, and somebody else. I can't quite remember. I do apologize for not having the whole list of names, but they're going to be doing their review of Wakanda Forever, the new Black Panther movie, as well as ranking all the recent Marvel Phase 4 stuff. Cody, yes, sorry, thank you, Astrid. Cody is joining them as well, too. But yes, the three of them are going to be hitting up your screen to do all the Marvel conversation, doing the review and everything. So yes, those wonderful human beings are going to be joining you this afternoon. And as you saw on there, next Sunday, there's also going to be that watch along that Andre and Melball are going to be doing for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So stay tuned for that. That is always a fun time with the two of them as well. And then the various shows that we've got for you guys throughout the week as well, too, you know, taking over on Tuesday nights. We got Turnbuckle Talk on Tuesday nights, Fusion Thursdays. And, you know, I'm sure we'll drop a few more things here and there, Parrish. We're always being creative and coming up with new things to add here to the channel, and I'm sure more of that's got to come up. We got to get a gaming night going one of these nights. I'm sure that would be quite interesting. And then, I know that soon we're also going to be having another episode of that.
Let's post that up to our Twitter. We'll put up a poll of what games would you like to see people from our local establishment play. Yeah. And then stream down it. Like, do you want to see us play a little bit of maybe Fall Guys, Among Us, for example, stuff like that? Which, by the way, Among Us now in virtual reality, that's scary. But I kind of want to try that out.
I do too. I haven't quite gone down the road of VR and stuff like that. But speaking of virtual realities, virtual wrestling realities, I'm sure there's going to be another episode of that coming up very soon from our good friend Ed Fries as well. So stay tuned for that. We had the latest episode of Paramindful that dropped this last week. So we just got a plethora of wonderful things going on here at OLE. And yes, I do believe that we should put that poll out. I've got Among Us. I've got Fall Guys. Love those two games. Or if anyone else has suggestions of multi-platform or games that can be played on a computer, at least anyway, that would be wonderful. I'm not one that's ever gone and purchased it, but I know Jackbox can be a lot of fun. I've just never had a copy of it myself.
Yeah, I mean, there's a plethora of games you can go with, but yeah, no, if this is something that you want to see us add to our repertoire, then let us know. And if there's any ideas you want us to do and try, please understand that there's going to be multiple people attempting this. So don't make it too difficult for us. We're not exactly the best gamers in the world.
Yeah. But if you want to get involved, you want to be a part of a gaming stream or something like that, or helping us out with that, reach out, because we're always open to collaborations and working with other contributors as well too. So don't feel like this is something that you just have to be in the chat with. You can also join us on screen in some sort of capacity. Just reach out to any of the members of our local establishment, and we will make that shit happen, because that's what we do.
Yeah, we'd like to we like to give people what they want, but we also like to try new things as well. So it'll be very interesting. Yeah. So yeah, is there anything else you have on the agenda today?
I didn't really have a whole lot written down. I was really relying on the peeps in the chat that were going to throw down for us. They were going to come up with all sorts of questions and things for us to derail for them today.
I have an idea.
We
kind of mentioned a little bit about the Royal Rumble, or mention it. Who are early out picks to win each Royal Rumble as of today? Who are we settling in on?
Are we allowed to make assumptions that somebody will be back in time?
Oh yeah.
Okay, then flat out
there's no limitations here. We ain't COVID. We don't restrict our choices.
Then flat out it's Cody on the men's side of things for sure, in my opinion. 100%. The narrative fits, everything works about it. Unless for whatever reason you've got The Rock in your back pocket and you're going to have him and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, I don't see any other way. I don't see any other way other than Cody Rhodes being the victor on the men's side. On the women's side, I don't know. I mean, if they continue to go with the way things are building right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Shayna Baszler pulls it off and her and Ronda could be a matchup at WrestleMania.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to choose ones different from you just for the sole point of being different.
All right.
I'm going to go Gunther for the Royal Rumble winner.
Interesting.
Because I wouldn't be shocked between here and now. I wouldn't be shocked to see Sheamus dethrone Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship, or at least somebody too. Don't worry. I'm going to actually just put it out there. I'm cheating. My honorary hope is Sami Zayn. 100%. I think that place would lose its shit if Sami Zayn pulled it out. But on the female side, I'm going to go with someone who is been known as a problem, and that is Rhea Ripley. I think she has reinvented herself. She has brought herself back, and I think the Judgment Day has just made her a huge star now, even bigger than what she was. I think just the fact that she's, slamming Luke Gallows, the interactions with all the men, stuff like that. She is definitely a heavy asset for the Judgment Day. And I think I'd have some time for a Rhea Ripley versus Ronda Rousey match at WrestleMania.
Ooh, tempting. Very tempting for sure. I mean, in any way that Rhea gets that opportunity, I'm behind it for sure. And I'm not opposed to that being the victor because, damn, I like Rhea Ripley. I think she's fantastic. I've thought that since the day they signed her. So I want to see better things for her. And again, the Judgment Day has been fantastic. We know at first, apparently from the rumors, Triple H was a little bit soft on the group. He did not like the direction it was going, did not like the idea, but now he is 100% behind it. And the great things that it's doing, especially for two members, it's doing great things for Rhea Ripley. It's also doing really great things for Dominic Mysterio at the moment as well, too. This group is doing what it needs to do in establishing new young people in the company as credible threats to the upper echelon of the roster as well, too.
Yeah, and I think too, just the revelation of the Judgment Day in the last little bit has just been really nice, and I think a lot had to do with the OC rejoining and giving them a legit feud and giving them a feud with people that we care about. I think the fans care about, obviously, AJ Styles. I know that they cared about the return of the Good Brothers, and because of that, there's actual competition. It's just not a forced group, and because of that, it now feels like a modern day warfare. And I think I prefer to see the OC and the Judgment Day at War Games. I honestly do believe that would have been a better game, better matchup. But it looks like they're heavily going into the Bloodline versus the Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre, which is something we kind of expected. But standing on the Judgment Day, I think the longer they're there, the more established they are, to feel like kind of that cult that takes over. And because of that, I have a lot of time for them. I'm glad that they're given the opportunity to stick and let breathe. And I do think that it's paying dividends right now. And I think right now the only thing that's missing out of the Judgment Day is championships.
Yeah, and they hopefully are on the way. Again, the group is looking at very, very sharp at the moment. When you talk championships, there is only so many, although there is way too many at the same time. Where do you place the championships within this group? I mean, clearly you can go Rhea Ripley, women's champion, no problem. That's an easy guess. But when you talk about the remaining 3 guys, are you making a partnership to become a tag team within the group? Are you talking about all singles individual titles within the group? What direction are you going with the other side of it? Do you make Damian Priest and Dominic a tag team and have them go for the tag belts? Do you have Finn start to go into
that's exactly what I
the
would
main
do.
title picture?
That's exactly what I do, just because I do not think Dominic Mysterio is ready to go after a Seth Rollins, Gunther for a secondary title, or even Roman Reigns for that, or that like an individual title. I do think Finn Balor should be a champ, like a world title guy, but I can also understand if he's the guy to take a U.S. title off Seth Rollins, or I can believe that as well. And then I just love the pairing of Damian Priest against Dominic Mysterio, because you have that one guy who's a little bit sympathetic, but he has his muscle. It kind of has vibes of Shawn and Diesel, where, you might have the guy that's a little bit cocky in Dominic Mysterio, but then he has his like muscle in Damian Priest to back him up. And then on top of that, there's that rear problem that we always talk about. So as long as they kind of stay together, I think that's a very formidable tag team. But yeah, I wouldn't be, it has to be the right guy, but I just wouldn't be against one more. But it has to be the right person, and it needs to feel organic. And if it doesn't, it needs to be like the Roderick Strong Undisputed Era. And if you can't get that, then don't do it at all.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But yeah, it's looking great. I think a tag title run would be great. And, we need somebody to step up to the plate in the tag title picture. The Usos have now broken that record, but who becomes the ones to take it off of them? Do you go to the direction of a faction like this, which would be an easy way to take the belts off of somebody, is to have that distraction from outside interference that backs the group up in order to do it. Because I mean, eventually those belts are going to have to switch hands, and whoever takes them, you're going to have to push big, because you're going against the guys who just broke the New Day's record, a record that I don't think anyone foresaw happening, getting toppled over anytime too soon.
Yeah, I'm not shocked, simply because of what they're doing by association with Roman Reigns and the historic reign he's having. It doesn't come to me as a surprise. It does come to me as, I'm glad they did it, because what now this does is put emphasis, and true emphasis, on the tag team titles. It makes them a very difficult championship to win, because you have very good champions who get the job done, and they're getting the job done with and without help from the Bloodline, and that's a very dangerous tag team. As Roman Reigns said, he's like, you guys are now entering GOAT status. How does it feel when it comes to the tag team division? And yeah, I have to agree with that statement. But then you got a heavy influx in the return of the Viking Raiders. So you have that as a formidable challenge. We talked about the potential reuniting of maybe Ciampa and Gargano. We talked about maybe the possible reuniting of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then you have the Alpha Academy, the Street Profits, maybe Hit Row, maybe Legado del Fantasma, maybe Los Lotharios. There are even Good Brothers. And I think that could be a very formidable challenge as well. And then if by chance Judgment Day have a tag team inside them, there's also that. And that's a lot. And I do believe that, we also have Imperium. You can never forget about Imperium and the Brawling Brutes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tag teams in WWE now. There is a depth in tag team, and I do believe that we could even see the main roster call up to Gallus at some point. I wouldn't even be shocked there, and that's just another formidable challenge for any championship. So really, it all depends on how you build those contenders and build the people now. Because right now, the Usos are here. Everybody else is there. So you need to build those people up now to make that. Because if it's not star power, then it needs to be a team that everyone just loves.
Yeah. It seems like they're solidifying these things all over the place, whether it's the tag team division, the women's division, or even just making the championships mean something again. All the things that we as fans had been requesting for years. It seems like for the most part, the notes have been taken and they're listening. And that's what's got everybody tuning back in. It's why there's been a spike in ratings. It's why that they're seeing, better returns on their on their stock trades and everything like that as well, too, because the company finally decided, hey, if our diehard fan base that tune in all the time, if we don't insult them and we give a good product and we continue to make the people who work for us happy, that is all going to get spoken about on social media. It's going to get spoken about on everybody's podcast and all these things that we do in order to get the word out there. And as that's happening, you get the people who have like, I tuned out because I couldn't stand it anymore. Oh shit, everybody likes it again. Maybe I need to tune in. And that's what starts to happen. We get those tune ins, and that's where you see these ratings jumps and everything that goes on from there. It's just been absolutely incredible. I can't deny how much I have enjoyed watching pro wrestling in 2022, and the 2023 direction seems to be going only up.
Yeah, and here's the thing, we were definitely talking heavy WWE for that, but you go back to you even go to AEW, and there's a lot of formidable tag teams there, whether it's Acclaim, whether it's the Gun Club, aka the Ass Boys, anybody in the firm. Then you also have, the people we're not seeing in the Young Bucks. Then you also have, Swerve in Our Glory. You're just seeing a plethora of tag teams there as well, whether it's Death Triangle, anybody there, whether it's anybody in the House of Black. What we're seeing is depth within the championships and the contenders. And I think once you have that, then you get to slowly develop all the feuds and all the, the things that make wrestling a whole, the stories. And once you have that, you have a product that you need to watch every week. And I think we're getting that continuity across the board now. And it's just awesome because this reminds me of the time when, I got to watch Raw on Mondays. And for whatever reason, we got Nitro on Tuesdays. And then we had, it was weird because on Wednesdays I would watch a Thunder, which was really weird to me because it wasn't necessarily a live show all the time. No. And then you had SmackDown on Thursdays, and then ECW on TNN on the Friday, and then there was the Velocities, the Heats, the Metals, the Jacks, and then you had the pay-per-views on Sundays, and it was so over thrilling of just. I don't even know if that's a word, but it was so drowning of content that it was so amazing as a wrestling fan, as a kid, when you had no idea what was there other than WWE, F and WCW at the time. And then now it's kind of a similar thing. You got your Raw on Mondays, you got your NXT on Tuesdays, you got your Dynamite on Wednesday. And then Thursday, there's Impact Wrestling. And then Friday, you got your Rampage, your SmackDown. And then on Saturdays, you could have the PLEs. Sundays, you could have the PLEs. It's just bang, 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 bang again. And that's the fun part about being a fan, is that if you have the time, you have the content, there you go.
Yep. And Thursdays, you also have Fusion. And Sundays, a lot of the time, you got those New Japan Pro Wrestling shows. And again, I'm going to reiterate, This coming Sunday, 1 week from today, make sure to tune in with Melball and Andre doing the New Japan Pro Wrestling watch along party. That's going to be a hell of a great time. So yeah, just a plethora of content out there and a lot of great people reviewing said content as well too. So make sure to support people who do those kind of things. And speaking of support, we've seen the ticker at the bottom already. Just going to throw it out there. That QR code in the corner of your screen is going to take you to our good friends over at rogueenergy.com for an alternative to the average everyday energy drink, and now available in cans from Rogue Energy. You can place an order for a vegan-friendly, low-calorie, zero-sugar alternative to energy drinks. I can't stress enough how dynamic these flavors are, and there is a plethora of choices. I know, Parrish, you now can also attest to how good Rogue Energy is.
I can attest to how good the hat feels.
But soon.
Just an issue with the American shipment has delayed my order. So nothing to really worry about. But yeah, no, absolutely amazing. Just a plethora of flavors, a plethora of options that you have. You can even get the swag like I have on my head. But now that they have the cans, it's just different. The cotton candy is easily their biggest sell right there. So if you have a chance, try that out. If not, there's also many other ones. Like I think there's a blue raspberry as well. That's pretty good. But I know that I'm just dying to try the black cherry for the powder and the sample stuff. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. Go check out Rogue Energy. Use that promo code OLEPODS to get 10%. Because let's face it, we say it's a good time to bet on yourself. I just say it's a better time to go rogue.
I love how you put that into perspective. And again, that black cherry flavor, I mean, if it's as good as a Dr. Pepper, then maybe we can convince Carl Karafeld to make the switch.
I mean, there's only 23 flavors to why, right? But
at the same time, I don't know if our good friend Carl will ever switch away from the Dr. Pepper.
No, because I know he once was introduced to a man named Mr. Pibb, and they just didn't have a great encounter. So, yeah.
Damn you,
but yeah, needless. But yeah, outside of that, do we have anything else on the docket?
I got nothing else written down here. I think it's been a quiet week for the most part, and I think we covered a lot of the grounds there. I'm sure next weekend will definitely be a lot busier. I know that I believe next weekend is Full Gear, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm pretty sure there will be a lot to talk about on the AEW side of things.
For that AEW Heavyweight Championship of the world.
Worth the price of the pay-per-view on its own merits.
Could we see the crowning of the most organic AEW heavyweight champion to date?
I hope it's not could we see a crowning, it's when we see the crowning of the most organic built superstar over there and like in general to date. If MJF is not a champion by this time next Sunday, I think, because it's Saturday night, right? The pay-per-view?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm going to put it out there that if you give me a right reason to why he's not, I'm open to it.
Okay. If MJF is not champion by next
Here's
Sunday
an opportunity
morning,
by chance. What if? Because we got that tournament going on, or the Eliminator tournament going on. All Ego Ethan Page is involved, also a member of the firm. If he is to win this and become that new guy, would it not make a lot of sense for one Stokely Hathaway to screw MJF out of his opportunity just so his own guy can get it? And we just wait a little bit longer for it. But I do believe, I really do believe, if there is a phone call conversation that we see between Stokely Hathaway and Tony Khan pays the firm to restrict MJF from winning that title, MJF will become the biggest babyface in pro wrestling today.
Yeah, I know. You're still not selling me on it though, because if MJF is not champion by this time next Sunday, I'm all out as far as I'm concerned. I'll as you can tell,
I think that's later next year though.
Yeah, I know. Pun intended. But as you can tell, I'm clearly an MJF fan, and there's never been a better time than to pull the trigger on an MJF World Championship run. And, you know, with the way things have been lately, I've been a little bit sour on some of the things I've seen from AEW as of late, but I'm excited about this one. And you're really going to have to sell me a fucking great story if you want me to believe that there's any way other than MJF as your new world champion next weekend, because I'm 100% committed to that being the only way right now. And it's going to be hard to change my opinion, but I am going to be tuning in because damn it, if I don't want to see it, I want to be there when MJF finally holds that belt.
Yeah, maybe we will see an AEW Full Gear watch along stream.
Yeah, well, maybe.
You never know.
You just never know. Look who's coming in flexing his muscles at the end of the show here just now. Papa Smokes.
The man with the angelic voice, Papa Smokes.
He's flexing those big 24-inch pythons of his right there, just giving her one of these in the show this morning.
Oh, I thought that was his leg. But yeah, no, as it becomes a staple to hear at Boston now, we like to show some love to other people. It is football today. Football Sunday. I know not everybody in the chat is a football fan. I know not everybody is. But sometimes you just gotta play nice with other people. But we want everyone to show the OLE way. And that is to show love, show support to people. As we're gonna raid people that I like to follow every once in a while. Speed's Benchmark is who we're gonna follow in just a little bit. So if you're with us here on the Twitch, you will be forwarded to them momentarily. If you're watching us on YouTube, we will finish the show as normal. So for that, before we do anything, Bobby,
make sure to
plug your shit.
Well, just make sure when we do the raid. Make sure when we do the raid, everybody, to say hello and give a big OLE welcome, a big old ole over there. But yes, as for plugging my shit, as you see below, you can follow me on various platforms. You can check me out on Thursday nights with the man who came in with the comment, flexing his muscles at the end there, Mr. Pop Smokes, as we bring you the MLW coverage known as Fusioned. And then I'll be back here next Sunday as well for another episode of Busting Out. And like you said, who knows, maybe a Saturday night Full Gear watch along. Something along those lines might happen during the week, so you can check that out. Reach out to me if you have anything that you want to talk about, want to chat about, or any cool show ideas. Hey, I'm always open to other shows, other contributions. Reach out to me. And Parrish, how about you? Where can people find you this week?
You know you want to.
Whoops.
Well, on the social medias, you can follow me on the Twitter, Chris Parrish, Instagram at the Chris.Parrish, the Twitch at the Chris Parrish, some things you did today. But you can also follow me on everything Our Local Establishment. And if you're watching Our Local Establishment on the Twitch, then you can see me every Tuesday hosting, taking over alongside the Natural, the Big Star Asher Pizarro, as we will review and react to everything NXT. And then, like you are doing right now every Sunday, I am alongside with my brunch buster brother, the man, the myth, Bobby Munson, as we are hosting Busting Out. This was the perfect 10 episode. I have no idea what next week's going to be called. Maybe Perfect Plus One. I don't know. I'm not feeling that the most creative today. Yeah, who knows? We will find out. But for everyone watching here, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to just deal with our insanity, our off the rails mentality. But thank you for taking a ticket at the bus station and getting a little busted. So for everyone who's going to go rated, I accidentally exited out of the screen, so give me 1 second.
Stay tuned as we figure out how to rate another channel.
I'm now working on the dual screens. You know, that's not exactly my specialty.
We've already had to step it up.
Reason,
it's dual screen time. You know, it's you're watching us.
I know,
that
right?
Step to the next level and beyond.
Yeah. So, yeah, you should be in about a 10-second time. You'll be rated over there. So, again,
say away.
Say hi. Say what's up. way. All right, people, enjoy. Sweet Mark. And for the people watching here on the YouTube, enjoying the broadcast, we just want to say thank you for where you're at. And hopefully you have a great rest of your Sunday.